Didn't see you there. Hope you guys are having a lovely, lovely Wednesday. I'm here in my hometown visiting my parents, and I thought, what better way to stretch than take you outside and have a little bit of sunlight. Now, just to preface today's session, I wanted to touch on why I do these sessions. If it's your first time joining me, my name is Nathan, and I have been a personal trainer for 10 years, but I've also worked remote jobs for the last 4 years, and I realized how detrimental working a desk job is for our bodies. So I thought, what better way than to break up our workday with a little bit of stretch. So if you're new here, typically we have a lot of neck, back, shoulder, and hip kind of stiffness and pain that we deal with. So that's what we're going to focus on with today's session. So the format generally is going to follow a little bit of getting warm first. It's a lot easier to stretch your joints and stretch your muscles when your heart rate is up or your body temperature is risen. So if you've ever done hot yoga or anything like that before, you might find the same. So I'd encourage you to always start by getting a little bit warm before you stretch. And an example of doing that is simply doing some sort of marching on the spot or just some arm circles, which is where we'll start today. So find yourself some floor space. If you have a mat, that would obviously be ideal, given that the ground sometimes isn't the nicest thing to stand on. I'm out here in the grass. I don't know if I'll keep this mat. The grass hasn't been cut in a little while. I'll have to call my dad out on that. But yeah, we're going to start with some arm circles. So if you're ready to jump in, let's do this. We're going to spend about a minute doing everything today. Just want to preface that to say most times we rush through stretches and we don't really get the benefit. So do take your time. Try to breathe through all of these exercises and really just take your time and explore them. All right. So find yourself in a wide stance here. We're just going to start with some really small circles, come backwards with the arms. You should open up your chest and your head, looking up at the ceiling or the sky if you're outside. Start to make those arm circles a little bit bigger. Here. And I just want to invite you to start taking some really deep breaths here. Think of filling your rib cage 360 degrees, so outwards, to the side, to the back, not just using your belly, but think of your ribs expanding in every direction, kind of like a balloon. Keep those arm circles going here. That's it. Good. Let's go the other way. Try to point your thumbs back behind you. The more we can externally rotate our arms, the more we're working some of those little muscles in the back and in the shoulders that we don't really use throughout the day when we're sitting in this position. Then we'll go for a couple more here. Biggest circles yet. All right. Now we're doing the same thing for our hip. So just find your balance on one leg. Let's go left leg down, right leg coming up and around. You can start with some baby circles, whatever you have control of. And feel free to hang on to a chair if you need to. Start to make those circles a little bit bigger. Don't worry about how you look or how it should feel. Just focus on drawing the circle with your knee. So really big circles here. Again, connecting with the breath here. We'll go back the other way. This one's a little harder. You'll notice that your back might start wanting to get involved here. So if you notice your pelvis is doing sort of this, try to slow it down. Don't go as big. Try to keep it controlled with just the leg. All right, let's switch to the other side. Here. Oops, going from back to front. Little circles. Wow, balance on this side. Fantastic. Good. And just a note, if you can get outside, especially in the morning, you can get some sunlight on your eyes. If you've ever listened to Andrew Huberman, you'll know quite well that getting in touch with your circadian rhythm, using the sun, first thing in the morning will help your sleep later in the day because it signals to your body when your sleep cycle should be. So if you ever struggle with your sleep, that's one of the easiest things to do is build the routine of getting outside, looking at the sun for about 10 minutes. And typically, that's when I do stretches like this. I'll take 5 to 10 minutes when I'm fresh, when I'm relaxed. I'll just do some really light movement to get my body going. All right. So that was our first one. Next, we're going to go down to the ground, and we're going to work on our spine a little bit. So find a tabletop position here. You're going to go thumbs right underneath your shoulders, knees right underneath your hips, and then walk those hands out just a little bit in front of you. Coming off the ground, we're going to sit back into our hips. It's called the bear squat position. So you're sitting back, knees are hovering. You're going to lift up into a downward dog. Take a couple breaths here. Try to really shrug your arms away from your feet. Push your heels down. And then we're going to roll our body weight forward until we're on top of our hands. And we're up in this upward dog position, arching the back. Left here. And you're going to shoot back into that bear squat. So knees hovering, keep them low to the ground. Lift the hips, push the heels down. And then rolling forward, we're going to puff the chest out. Shoulder blades back. Keep that going. We're going to go another 45 seconds, continuously flowing from back to front. Bringing as much length to our spine as we can. Really important to get some movement through your spine. It's where all of our movement comes from. There's a lot of nerves that run through our back. You wonder why you have tension as often as we have. A lot of nerve problems. Arching back as much as you can. All right. So you can pop back, walk your hands into your feet. Stand on up. We'll shake out here. So now we're going to go for our shoulders and our legs together. So I'm going to sit up, let's go right leg forward towards the front of the mat, left leg back in this split stance position. I'm going to bend my knees a little bit. I'm going to tip over that front leg a little bit. So from my head to my foot, straight line. I'm going to take my arms up as high as I can get them. Flip them around until they're over my lower back. And bring them as high as I can go up to my ears. So we're going to get a little bit of leg work out here, but mostly shoulders. As we try to open up through the back, the shoulders. You can go over the head. And just try to keep a good posture here. Proud chest. Weight in your front leg. And then just big, slow arm circles. We call these swimmers. And we're trying to take our time. Open up the chest and the back. One more here. This one's pretty spicy. We acknowledge that. If it's too much, just stand up a little bit taller. Do the same thing. But ideally, we're leaning forward. We're hinging at the hip. Getting a little bit of a workout here in the glutes. All right, let's switch legs. Left leg forward, getting long. Take your time to find that bend over position here. Chest is big, you're not rounding through the back. Stay tall. Arms up. Take your time to breathe through it. Because I'm not rushing through this. Really reach as far back as you can so you can get those hands and those shoulder blades together. Try to push the limits of what you can be capable of. Not anything painful, just gentle stretch of mobility in this case, where we're actively pulling. Go one more here. Really good. All right, guys, just a couple more. Spread your feet out nice and wide. Give yourself a little bit of stretch in the groin here. Gentle stretch. We're just practicing lateral lunges and rotations. So we'll sit first. Get as deep into that lunge as you can. And then you're going to rotate. Helps to grab onto the leg a little bit. So sit into the outside of your hip. Let your knee go over the toe a little bit. And then rotate open to the ceiling. And remember, don't rush. So find your balance. Take your time to open. See if you can rotate through the ribs. And when you run out of room, pause, take a breath, hold it for a second, take another breath. You can go a little bit further with that breath. It's all in the exhale. You're signaling to your body that you're safe here, that you can get into that unfamiliar space so that next time you get there, your body's more prepared. It doesn't think that you're going to hurt yourself, that you're not strong enough in that position. Just take some time. Get familiar with that unfamiliar, that discomfort. Unfortunately, our body has a trend to try to look for the easy way through any sort of movement pattern. So we're just training it into positions that are good for us, but you haven't been in a while. Okay, we'll go one more on the other side here. Really good job. All right. We got one left. That's my notes here. All right, so this one's how we're going to get strong in some of those positions that are counterintuitive to our best position. I'm going to have you find some space on the ground. We're going to do what's called a reverse plank. And this is essentially doing the opposite of what we do all day, which is here. We're just going to open up everything and lean back. So thumbs and fingers facing your feet, plank them right beneath you. We're going to lift our hips off the ground in hip bridge, and we're going to hold this for 3 rounds, 20 seconds. So when you're ready, we'll come up in 3, 2, 1. Push the hands down, lift the hips. Really drive your heels into the ground. Start to breathe out really hard. With each out breath, try to lift the hips just a touch more. One more breath. All right, relax for a second. If you find this really hard, you can just do a regular hip bridge. Just lying down on your back, floating your hips up like this. I encourage you, try and get the arms in if you can. Thumbs, facing the feet. Float those hips. Bent knee is also easier if you do this. Otherwise, we are straight-legged from head until holding. If you've been sitting for most of the day, you'll feel this hopefully in your glutes and your butt. If you feel it in your lower back, make sure you really push your heels down, squeeze your butt more. And relax. And again, if this is too hard, just go down to your back and the same thing, hip bridge. All right, guys, last one for the day. Posture up, head back, up. One second left. And down we go. Whew. Shake it out. All right, guys. If you joined me this far, thank you for joining me. I'm assuming Jenks, you're watching at home. Thanks for joining me, buddy. And again, if you enjoyed this, please share it with somebody you think you might benefit from it. Like it, share it. I hope to build this to be something a lot of people do in the middle of their workday eventually. So thanks again for joining me, and we will see you next time.